This is Cashing Out on VSiN, the sports betting network.
All right, welcome in. It's Cashing Out with Joe Ceraulo, taking you right into your Wednesday, coming off of a great Tuesday night of postseason action. A great night for the road teams. How about 4-0 the road teams across the Stanley Cup playoffs and the NBA playoffs? We're going to break it all down. Look ahead to Wednesday's NBA action as well. We've got some great guests joining us this hour. We're going to talk some NFL schedule release anticipation, strength of schedule, win totals, rookie awards with our buddy Joe DeLeon here shortly. Scott Spreitzer is going to join us and give out his best bets for Wednesday across baseball and the NBA. So we've got a fun, busy hour ahead. But how about Tuesday? I mean, the best game. Look, there were great games all night long, really, from start to finish. Final game that ended was Edmonton-Vegas, and that was absolutely phenomenal. The Oilers down 2-1 going into the third. They tie it in the opening minute, win it with 2 goals in the final 3 minutes, 4-2 right down the road at T-Mobile. It was an insane game there. They outshot the Knights 28-17 en route to the victory. All of a sudden, Edmonton has won 5 straight postseason games after falling behind the LA Kings 2-0 in their opening round series. By the way, eliminating the Kings ultimately for the 4th straight postseason. But the best game, the best finish had to be the first game. And no, it wasn't Carolina's overtime winner in our nation's capital, coming back from down 1-0 to win 2-1 against Ovechkin and the Capitals. It was the Indiana Pacers in Cleveland, shifting from underdogs of about plus $1.90 to $1.95 favorites to win that series against the Eastern Conference 1 seed. Indiana, on a night where they had a clear shot, a clear advantage to go up 2-0 when it was announced that there would be no Evan Mobley, no Darius Garland, and no DeAndre Hunter for Cleveland. Indiana came out of the gate as slow as they possibly could have. It was like they didn't want to win the game, like they wanted the dramatics. I mean, they should have come out knowing Cleveland was down not 1, not 2, but 3 key components. They should have come out like a bat out of hell. And in fact, it was the Cavs who did so. Donovan Mitchell was sensational from start to finish. Couldn't get it going from beyond the arc. Cleveland hasn't been able to in either game this series now. But still, despite shooting just, 1 of 7 from 3, still turned in a 48-point performance with 9 dimes and 4 steals as well. Cleveland went up 32-15. Never really looked like they were going to relinquish the lead, right? Indiana came back a little bit, was plus 6 in the second quarter, still a double-digit Cavs lead at the half. They go into the fourth up, 13 points? Yeah, up 14 going into the fourth quarter. And Indiana, for the second time in 3 games, they did it game 5 against Milwaukee. The Indiana Pacers overcome a 7-point deficit in the final 45 seconds of action. They were down 118-111 in Milwaukee. They won at 119-118. Nearly an identical score here with 40 seconds to go, down 119-112. It appeared as if that was all she wrote. And then the same recipe and the same result come to fruition ultimately. Couple of turnovers, some smart shot selection, not forcing threes when you're down 7 with 40 seconds to go, taking the high percentage shot, attacking the rim, getting second chances, right? Jared Allen was there to reject Halliburton in one case. Spicy P was there for the cleanup. And Indiana claws back in the final 40 seconds, and then ultimately a missed free throw with an offensive rebound. Tyrese Halliburton gets the ball, gets out to the top of the key, crosses up and cashes in as the Pacers, with a second left, take the ultimate lead, 120-119 on Halliburton's 3. He finishes with 19 points, 9 boards, just 4 dimes, but Nembhard had 13 assists to go with his 13 points in the win for Indiana. Nesmith and Turner couple of 23-point performances. For Cleveland, it was all Donovan Mitchell with 48. Jared Allen had 22 and 12 for a double-double. Max Strus had a big... How about Strus and Merrill? We talked about them Sunday night after the Cavs dropped game one. How either the starting five had to get reconstructed, reconfigured, right? Like we've seen other teams do in the playoffs. Milwaukee did it. Golden State has done it. And Strus and Merrill not showing up in game one. I said Cleveland had to reconstruct their starting five. Well, Strus stays, Merrill goes to the bench, and they combine for 37 points on 9 of 21 shooting from beyond the arc. They both had great games. Ty Jerome replaces Merrill in the starting lineup. Craps the bed. I mean, Ty Jerome had 20 points game one, but it was on 20 shots. Well, this time, he chucked up 14 shots, made one, had 2 points. Ty Jerome in a game where the Cleveland Cavaliers so desperately needed him to step up in the absence of DeAndre Hunter. Those two have been, some of the best 6-7 men combo, maybe the best 6-7 man combo off the bench in the league this year. Ty Jerome had an absolutely dreadful performance in game two for Cleveland. And now the Pacers have shifted from plus 190 to minus 190, nearly $2 favorites as this series will shift back to Indiana, and they find themselves 2-point dogs on the very early line for Friday night's game 3 in Indianapolis. But we've got a lot of hoops between now and Friday night. Wednesday, couple of game 2s where the 9.5-point dog road teams stole the show in game 1. So how do the odds makers react to a couple of game 1s in Boston and OKC? They make the Celtics and Thunder go from 9.5-point favorites game 1 to 10.5-point favorites game 2. The New York Knicks pulled off the unthinkable. 20-point deficit, 72-52 in the third quarter, game 1, and they win it outright. I got in on them live when they had 5 seconds to go in regulation. They had the final shot, which ultimately Brunson shockingly missed. I took them even money live, was regretting it because they instantly became 2-1 at the intermission going into overtime, but wasn't regretting it when the money hit my account after that game went final. I mean, game 1 could not have been wilder for Mikal Bridges, right? 51 minutes. The first 45, 46 looked dreadful. Then all of a sudden, very end of regulation and overtime, turns it on both ends of the floor. Great, defense, couple of steals, turning defense into offense. It was like a tale of two halves, except it was 45 bad minutes and 6 phenomenal minutes for Mikal Bridges. Now, can the Knicks do it again? I mean, let's be real. Do I think so? No. But this is a Knicks team that if they get hot, watch out. And when they got hot Monday, Boston didn't have an answer. Let's hear from Jaylen Brown on what the Celtics need to do if the Knicks get a good little streak going.
In those moments when the other team got momentum, we can't just fire up threes. To break up momentum, you got to get to the free throw line, get to the paint, get to the basket, maybe get a easy 2. You know what I mean? Hit some free throws, and then maybe the next three-pointer feels a little bit better. I feel like we just settled in the second half a lot. But we'll look at it, and we'll make adjustments.
Oh, you can't just fire up threes. I mean, shoot, it would have been great if he took his own advice before going 1 of 10 from beyond the arc in that game 1. I mean, the Celtics were dreadful from deep. 15 for 60. It was like watching an Alabama college basketball game, right? Talk about the Crimson Tide and how they either live by the 3 or they die by it, and they have that otherworldly game against BYU, and then they go up against Duke and they can't buy one, and it sinks their ship ultimately. Now look, that's survive and advance, March Madness, totally different. For the Celtics, 1 loss, it's just 1 loss. Now it's, you got to win 4 out of the next 6, right? But you can't turn in another performance like that. That was just dreadful. I mean, it was almost predictable, the way that they were chucking up threes. It was like, great, keep doing it, because it's the equivalent of a turnover, right? Celtics had 13 turnovers, not a crazy amount, but every time they took a shot from beyond the arc, as a Knicks fan sitting there in the fourth quarter, it felt like before the ball left their hand, it was a turnover. So, look, do I anticipate Boston is going to shoot that poorly from beyond the arc game 2? No. I mean, the fact of the matter is the Knicks shot 46% from deep, 17 for 37. The Celtics were just 15 for 60, and the Knicks needed overtime to barely escape with a 3-point win. Do I think the Knicks, who have played, 5 straight playoff games to margins of like 4 points or less, do I think the Knicks are going to go to TD and take 2? Absolutely not. Do I think that 10.5 might be a little lofty? Yeah. Do I sound like a broken record because I said the same thing going into game 1 about the 9.5? Yeah. I think that 10.5 is a bit of a ridiculous number. Now, I think it makes a little more sense in the other game, Oklahoma City, Denver. I think that's a spot where I'd lay the 10.5 with Oklahoma City because I think that game 1 was a massive wake-up call for a Thunder team who had been just cakewalking everyone and their mother this season, right? And Memphis was not a challenge at all in that opening round. And then you come in and here comes the best basketball player in the world. I don't care if he wins the MVP this season or not for a 4th time. Nikola Jokic is the best basketball player in the world. SGA is not far off. But Jokic is that guy. And the Nuggets come into OKC, and they steal game 1. To me, that was a worse collapse than the Celtics even. I thought the Thunder losing that was inexcusable. And I think Oklahoma City, with their wing play, their guard play, and their depth, I think that they're going to come out game 2. And Denver was running on adrenaline game 1. I think we start to see some tired legs game 2. I'm not saying I'm laying the points, but I'd be more inclined to with OKC than I would with Boston.
Welcome back to Cashing Out here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Cashing Out continues with me, Joe Ceraulo, taking you through the late hours of your Tuesday night, this May 6th, right on in to your Wednesday morning, especially for our friends over on the East Coast. And now, taking you over to the Progressive Guest Line, we are just about a week away from the long-awaited NFL schedule release. We've got some player props, we've got win totals to bet on, we've got strength of schedule, which of course no one truly knows this early, this far out, but it's fun to talk about. So let's welcome in our friend Joe DeLeon, host of the Ruffino and Joe Show. You also catch his terrific work as an NFL draft and college football analyst over at A to Z Sports. Joe, how are you, man? Tell me your thoughts before we dive in on strength of schedule being ranked and released this early in May, this far ahead of the NFL season. What do you think about that?
I think all the strength of schedule stuff is nonsense. I think that it is. How can you truly know how strong a schedule is when we haven't seen these teams play? We don't know how good the rookies are. We don't know how good the free agent classes are. And a lot of times the metrics for determining strength of schedule is based on last season's records and who did the best. So I just, there's so many fake variables that go into it. I don't pay much mind. I don't mind looking at a team's schedule and actually trying to project win totals off of those things. But no, I don't really trust the strength of schedule metrics that come out right now in May when nobody has played or stepped on the field.
Yeah, and speaking of not knowing how good the rookies are, we've gotten some interesting news coming out of a rookie, number 3 overall pick in the draft, to our Giants, Abdul Carter, wanting LT's number 56, getting shut down, and I think rightfully so. Look, you know I love Abdul Carter. I know you love Abdul Carter. I think anyone asking for LT's number, maybe the greatest football player, take positions out of it, maybe the greatest football player of all time, I think it's a bit ludicrous. And then he went on to ask for Phil Simms number 11. Also got shut down there. I mean, what do you make of a rookie, I don't care where you were drafted, of a rookie asking for a retired number?
I don't really understand this whole concept just generally of the retired numbers. And what I mean by that is, how can a player ask if it is deemed by an organization unwearable by new players and new members of the team? It doesn't make any sense. The team shouldn't create this weird, awkward situation where a player has to go and respond or former player rather, has to go and respond to an incoming rookie, an incoming free agent, whatever it is. The only circumstance that something like this should even be allowed, Joe, is that if there is some sort of special connection and said retired number, the player who has that number, decides they want to reach out to the rookie and give it to him. I think that was kind of part of the case with Warren Moon and with Cam Ward. It's really significant, the representation for Cam Ward representing that franchise and what Warren Moon did for representing that franchise and the success that he had as one of the first long-standing black quarterbacks, and Cam Ward getting to step in there. Completely different circumstance. Abdul Carter's got to chill. And I think that when you are told by Lawrence Taylor the clear message of go make your own name, go make your own number, create your own legacy, was essentially his response. I thought it was a really great, polite way of putting it. Why would you then follow up by talking to Phil Simms about this? Why would you even entertain that? I think because he struck out twice, Joe, I think that he should have to wear the worst available number. He should have to start 69? Over. He should have to go back.
That's what you're thinking? Put Abdul Carter in 69?
That's not a bad number. It's not a good defensive end number, but like I'm trying to think of something like 57. That number sucks. Like who wants to wear 57?
That sounds like I don't know, middle linebacker? I don't know where you would put 57 on. But if we're talking Abdul Carter, we're talking numbers here. How many sacks is this guy going to have as a rookie? Because the worst thing he can do is ask for number 56 and then go out there and have like 3 sacks his rookie season and be a non-factor. So we've got the numbers up at DraftKings. 8 or more is your standard vig, your minus 110. 9 or more, you get the plus money, plus $1.50. 10 or more, 3-1. 11 or more, 550. 12 or more sacks. You're getting, that graphic says 12-1. It's actually come down now, 10-1 on 12 or more sacks. What number would you look to play, if any, on this board?
Now, if I'm playing it safe, I probably would hit that 9+ sack number. I know that the odds aren't great, but I'd be willing to take 11+ for the odds that are being placed. 12 ends up kind of reaching that territory of him having a historic level of a rookie season with the Giants here. But I can't think of a better circumstance for him to have stepped into it. More importantly, I don't think that there is a better spot for a top 3 defensive end in the last 10 years than what Abdul Carter is landing in. He gets to play opposite of Brian Burns. They also have Kayvon Thibodeau. They have Dexter Lawrence in the middle, and they also just drafted Darius Alexander, who is a very talented defensive tackle from Toledo. This defensive line unit is stacked. And I also, one of the things I chalk this up to, we got to also pay close attention to how the offensive coordinators act in the NFL. They're incredibly egotistical. They all believe that they have the right plan and approach. And I feel like that enough offensive coordinators this year are going to think it's a rookie. He's a rookie. Why would we need to give him double attention, double team him, slide protection in his direction when we have to deal with Brian Burns and we have to deal with Dexter Lawrence? Someone's going to have to go one-on-one with him. I think those one-on-one opportunities are going to create chances for him to not only have hit that 11 number, but have multiple multi-sack games. I really think that Abdul Carter, the talent that he brings, is one of the most gifted pass rushing prospects to come out in the last 10 years. Coupled with the environment that he's in with a really good defensive coordinator, his production could be immense.
Well, only a dozen players, since sacks became an official recorded statistic, only a dozen players have ever had 12 or more sacks their rookie season. The record's 14.5. Javon Kearse, 1999 Titans. Yep. 19 players have recorded 11. Von Miller, 11.5. Most recently, for the dozen or more, Micah Parsons had 13 in 2021. Joe, defensive rookie of the year odds, Carter, he's clearing away the favorite. We're talking by more than $7. He's plus 275. Next men up, Travis Hunter and Jalen Walker, are 10-1. Is this Carter or pass for you? Is there anyone down the list that you think carries some value? What are your thoughts, defensive rookie of the year?
Right now, for me, it is Abdul Carter. And I know that the odds for him aren't great, that like it makes it like a super exciting pick. But I look at all these other premier defensive players, and I see a lot of good players. I see a number of guys like Jalen Walker and Shamar Stewart that are traits. They have the tools. They have the ability to develop into premier starters for the teams that took them, but they're not fully baked yet, especially Jalen Walker, who I think it's going to be a little bit of a learning process. I think that this is going to be a feeling out period for him and James Pierce Jr., who were both of the Falcons' first-round picks. And if anything, I'd actually say that I'd rather take James Pierce Jr. in that conversation. But to get back to Abdul Carter, I don't see a player out of any of these other defensive prospects that, again, is in a better circumstance. He doesn't have to step in and be that primary pass rusher. There are a lot of other guys that went in the first round that I think the expectations are relatively high. I also think that for the Travis Hunter conversation, I don't want to touch that. I think that Travis Hunter is going to have a great rookie season. I think he's going to do really, really well. But I think that it is such an enigma. It is such a question mark. It's so uncertain what his role really is going to be. It sounds like that there is a desire to deploy him first as a receiver and then start to have him contribute as a defensive player. Does one end up being prioritized over the other? It's just generally too confusing for us to make that assertion and to place that bet now. The time to place that bet would be like midway through the season. And I know that that's way too late, but we need an understanding of what that picture looks like before we make that move on Travis Hunter. I will throw out there, I think that Mason Graham is a really underrated name to pay attention to because, again, we're talking about guys on teams that are underrated circumstances. That Browns defense is really good. Myles Garrett is the best defensive end in the NFL right now. Mason Graham can be super disruptive. He could end up having an 8+ sack season if things go according to plan because he is a super underrated pass rusher coming from the interior.
And Graham coming in just like James Pierce, who you mentioned, both 14-1 for Defensive Rookie of the Year. Folks, smarter bets start right here, and they last all year long with a VSiN Pro subscription. For a limited time, we're slashing the price of our annual subscription, normally $240, now just $1.99. And when you sign up today, we're throwing in an extra 2 months free. That's 14 months VSiN Pro access for less than 50 cents a day when you use the promo code PRO. Get 14 months of access to our daily best bets from hosts and guests, exclusive splits from DraftKings and Circa, 24/7 live video and full show replays on the VSiN Watch app, and all of our great betting guides. So go to VSiN.com/subscribe now. Promo code PRO. Lock in your 14 months of VSiN Pro for just $1.99. VSiN.com/subscribe.
Welcome back to Cashing Out here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Cashing Out continues here on VSiN with me, Joe Ceraulo, and I'm excited to touch base with our friend, pro bettor Scott Spreitzer here, joining us now on the Progressive guest line. Check out his picks and his great work over at DocSports.com. Follow him on Twitter at ScottWins, because that's what he's been doing since he's been coming on Cashing Out. Scott, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing all right, man. Thanks for having me back. Been enjoying the NBA playoffs for the most part, and I'm watching, those Tuesday night games, and I'm shocked that the Minnesota Timberwolves playing as poorly as they did on the offensive end. But it's been a nice NBA postseason thus far.
Yeah, 12 of 76 from deep their last two games. I just saw that's the worst two-game stretch percentage-wise from three in NBA playoff history. It's like 15.5% their last two games. Man, I've been enjoying it too. I was driving from home in LA out to Vegas earlier, and at a rest stop on my way in, I saw the Cavs injury news, fired away Indiana plus 210 on the money line, and probably was the wrong side, but got the right results. So it's been fun. Let's hit on this Celtics-Knicks game 2. Right result from my New York Knicks, game 1 of that series. How do you think that translates into game 2?
Yeah, what I did, you got a big line again here, obviously. And what I did already was I played a team total here with Boston. And, I don't want to take away too much credit from your New York Knicks, as you said. I mean, their wings played extremely well. I'm a huge Jalen Brunson fan. Sometimes I think he plays even bigger than he is, and, he can wear down. But the fact is, the guy's an amazing, just an amazing talent in this league that doesn't get enough, I think, notice, from the casual sports fans. But listen, Boston took a ton of bad shots in that game in the second half. They made, as 15 of 60 3-pointers, 25%. So I was going back this year because I know they've had some weird games this year. And, they've lost 7 games by 13 or more points since January, since the calendar hit 2025. Huh. And if they miss their threes, they're vulnerable. They're like the Golden State Warriors when they started shooting threes like crazy, but would miss and have a bad game when they were starting their run. But the C's almost always bounce back, after a bad game. They lost 21 games this regular season and averaged over 120 points per game following at least one loss. And they topped this total, 110.5. They topped that total in 17 of those 21 games, coming off at least one loss. So, and we know they crushed the Knicks. If you care about the regular season, when it gets to the postseason, teams obviously change things up a little bit. Guys get a little bit, more into the games and play a little bit longer and all that kind of stuff. But they still hit 44% or almost 44% of their threes in the regular season against the Knicks. So I'm going to give them a break here. We saw them taking a lot of bad shots that weren't always forced and just missing those shots. So over 110.5. And I had to lay $120, but went ahead and did so.
I like the play, Scott. I think 10.5, laying that with the Celtics side in this one might be too many, but I certainly do think that they win the game, and I like that team total play a lot. Any props in this one, or have the props been reserved for the OKC Denver game too?
Yeah, my other props, like player props and things of that nature in that other game, I didn't play any player props here. I thought about maybe, riding Tatum and coming off the bad game and all that, the bad fourth quarter. But I just decided to go with that team prop and leave it at that.
So let's dive in. What do you got for the Thunder Nuggets?
I got a couple here. First one I got is Christian Braun over 19.5 points, assists, and rebounds in this game. And you got to lay $130 on that over. But this number is a full 7 points below Braun's average par over the course of the second half of the season. And he finished with 27 par in game one. He's a strong rebounder for a guard, man. He's got 52 boards in his last 7 postseason games. And he's going to get his looks on the offensive end because, of course, OKC, they've got to work on forcing Nikola Jokic out of his comfort zone after he just tore him up in that last game. Braun's been more reliable than Michael Porter Jr. in the postseason. Porter's making about 42% of his shot attempts. So he's going to get his looks. He's hitting 51% of his shots over his last 10 games, which includes a couple of games before the playoffs. I think he goes over this total, 19.5 points, assists, and rebounds.
I like it, Scott. Now, what about Jokic in the prop market? What are we looking for there?
Yeah, I like Denver a little bit of this one. Real quick note on this as far as trends and angles. I'm not a big trends and angles guy, but they matter to me a little bit more in the postseason. But, Denver's 9-2-1 against the spread as a playoff underdog the last 12 times. Obviously, 4-0-1 the last 5 games, whether laying or taken this year. And I do kind of like him here plus the points. Haven't pulled the trigger on that one yet. But what I have done is I took Jokic over 13.5 rebounds plus $1.05 when I got it a few hours ago. And listen, a guy never takes a night off. Could Denver take a night off after winning that first game? Yeah, they might. They could. They could be a little bit less tenacious in this game, but Jokic won't. And he's averaged 28 points, 17 boards, 10.5 assists per game in 5 meetings with OKC this season. And as good as Hartenstein is, I like him a lot, and Holmgren, they aren't strong enough, I don't think, to be able to slow the league's top player. So you got Braun, you got Gordon, you got Murray, you got Porter. They all feed off of Jokic, and Westbrook has definitely improved his game and his worth on the floor coming off the bench. So he's going to get his assist, but I also think he gets over 13.5 boards.
Scott, I love it. I love Hartenstein too, but the guy doesn't play, that much more than 30, maybe 32 minutes if you're lucky. And Holmgren's just the kind of guy Jokic could snap like a twig out there, right? Oklahoma City, bottom 3rd this year in rebounding. Last year, they were bottom 5. It's a rough matchup for them going against these bigs that Denver has. Let's take it to the diamond. Padres, Yankees. The original pitching matchup here was Dylan Cease against Cookie Carrasco. And that was when I gave out the Padres series price plus $1.55. Now it's Max Fried, who I think has value 5-1 in the AL Cy Young market. What are your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, the Yankees finally broke loose tonight, or, on Tuesday night. They scored 12 runs in that game. So I kind of wanted to see them break out a little bit, but maybe not get to a dozen runs, because I like them over their team total on a Wednesday, which is 4.5 currently. Dylan Cease, not exactly eating up innings. He's averaging less than 5 innings pitched per start in his 7 outings this season. I think he's thrown 33 1/3 in those 7 outings. He's got a 285 batting average against. He's allowed 54 base runners in those 33-plus innings. And how about 7 walks in his last 8 innings pitched? So I don't see any reason for any positive aggression to think that's going to come out of Dylan Cease in this one. I do like the Yanks on the run line a little bit here. I like them more to top that team total of 4.5. And remember, they're 5th, 3rd, and 2nd against righties in batting average, OPS, weighted runs created plus, 3 of the metrics I count on when I'm doing my handicapping. So I think team total gets knocked off here by the New York Yankees.
I love it, Scott. You still care about batting average. You and me both. I don't think anyone does nowadays. Everyone talks about all the advanced metrics. Batting average still matters to me. I love that it does to you too. Let's stay in the AL East. Red Sox, Rangers. What's the look there?
Yeah, Tyler Mahle out there on the bump having fun, man, isn't he? I mean, so far this season, he's been really good. And look who he's faced. I always like to see, like, if a pitcher is pitching better than maybe you expected or better than normal or worse, the other way, I like to see who they faced. And so far, he's shut down San Francisco, the Dodgers, the Cubs, and those last 2 teams I just mentioned. They're 3rd and 1st in runs per game in Major League Baseball. So he hasn't faced a bunch of chumps out here. He's been facing some of the better offenses in the league, and he's been pitching extremely well. His numbers are strong, and I love the 5% hard hit rate that Mahle has right now. The barrel rate, by the way, isn't too shabby either. The Red Sox, they gave up 33 runs in Tanner Houck's last 4 starts. He's got the hefty FIP besides, his ERA being north of 6. His barrel rate is almost 50%, which is crazy. And if that's not enough, you got this Red Sox injury list to their bullpen, which reads to me like a Leo Tolstoy novel. I mean, it's War and Peace when you look at their injuries. So I think the Rangers are going to hand the Sox their 4th straight loss here.
Yeah, Boston is really ailing right now. This is a team that for me was my pick to win the AL East, pick to get the 1 seed in the American League. And, it's early, but the Yankees haven't run away with this. Boston, to me, has really missed an opportunity to make up some ground here. Scott, before I let you go, final minute or so, any thoughts on the early weather reports coming out of Wrigley? Giants, Cubs, Robbie Ray's been good. San Francisco's an underdog, and we're looking at 20-plus mile-per-hour winds blowing in.
It's crazy. Yeah. I mean, they're talking about like it's really going to pick up around first pitch when I checked my analytics page a little bit ago. And so I'm thinking, yeah, it's going to be very windy, upwards of 20 miles an hour. And they're calling it to be that way for almost the entire game. Brown scares me a little bit at times. He's got the hefty whip. He's got the hefty ERA. But, you and I kind of talked off the air, and Murphy's looking pretty good. The no runs first inning when this one gets underway. I bet you that wind chill factor is going to be around 40, if that.
Yeah, you'd have to lay 45 cents on that Murphy, but you know what? It's more than I typically like to lay in baseball. I might have to get to the counter on that. Scott, as always, man, great stuff. It was a pleasure. Thanks so much for hopping on.
Always appreciate it. Good luck.
Make sure you follow him on Twitter at ScottWins. And folks, if you want more best bets from our buddy Scott Spreitzer, text VSiN wins to 29022, and you can grab your free trial of Scott's daily best bets, normally a $60 value. Act now, cash in with Scott, and make your next bet your best bet. Just text VSiN wins, that's one word, to 29022 now. Spoiler alert, we've got best bets coming up. I might have 3 from that wind-ridden game to be in Wrigley. I can't wait. Giants, Cubs, and a whole lot more baseball coming up. It's Cashing Out with Joe Ceraulo.
Sports Betting Network.
Cashing Out continues with me, Joe Ceraulo, wrapping up your Tuesday night, taking you all the way into your Wednesday morning, especially for our friends over there on the East Coast. We've got a lot of Wednesday day baseball coming at you. And this is my gripe with the MLB scheduling. It's like Tuesday, we got every team in action. Ultimately, Tigers-Rockies was rained out, postponed. So we got 14 games on, 15 because we had a doubleheader in D.C. So we got 15 games Tuesday, and the only day game is because of the doubleheader, Cleveland-Washington. Outside of that, and even that was like a 3 p.m. Eastern. We got no early baseball on a Tuesday, yet Wednesday, everything is early, and then we're going to have like one true night game. I mean, can we get more spread out scheduling? But we've got a flurry of early baseball Wednesday. Let's beat some lines early. Let's get in to the VSiN Daily Morning Bets. I am starting with two best bets up in Wrigleyville. So here's the deal. Wrigley Field, home of the Chicago Cubs, is expecting some brutal wind on Wednesday, early afternoon. We're looking at, as of now, and I'm no meteorologist, but hey, unlike them, I'm right a little more than 30% of the time. Right now, we are looking at 21 mile per hour winds coming in from about left center field, going towards the first base dugout. So it's going to be a good day for pitchers. Look at that total. Let's throw it up on your screen there. 7. When do you see a total of 7 at Wrigley? Well, when the Chicago winds are acting up like this. So we're going to lay a little more than we normally like to on a bet we give out here on this program. I'm going to give out the Nerfy. No run in the first inning. We talked about it a little bit with our buddy Scott Spreitzer, and he and I had talked about it off air. Steeper price than typically we would want to lay. But with those winds coming in, with a first pitch temp hovering around 48, 49, wind chill could take that thing into the upper 30s, I think it's the right play. No run first inning. Give me the Nerfy. Minus 145, Cubs Giants. And then we're going to have a little fun with the Giants pitcher, Robbie Ray. Robbie Ray has been fantastic in the early goings of this season. I mean, since the calendar hit April, he's been even better because his ERA on the year is 3.05, and he gave up 3 earned in 5 1/3 his first start. Since then, that ERA is sub 2.5 in his last 6 starts. He's also K'd 7 or more in 4 of his last 5 starts for the Giants. We're getting an over-under of 5.5 in Wrigley. I know the Cubs are not exactly a high strikeout team, but at home, they're in the bottom half of the league, about 8 Ks per game at home. What I'm looking for is 9 1/3 Ks per game over their last 3. So they've been striking out a dash more lately, have the Cubs. Ray's been striking more guys out lately. Give me Robbie Ray over 5.5 strikeouts at even odds against Chicago. Current Cubs hitters have 28 strikeouts against them in 87 at-bats. That's over a 30% K rate. They've got just 21 hits. So I like Ray. You know, the one thing he's been prone to giving up against current Cubs hitters, home runs. 6 of them out of their 21 hits. But on a day where the wind's going to be blowing in like that, I'm not worried about the long ball. I think his breaking stuff will be absolutely dancing. I love over 5.5 Ks. I would even contemplate a little ladder action because you can go 7+ Ks for Robbie Ray. Again, he's gone 7+ 4 of his last 5. You can go 7+ Ks at 2-1 on DraftKings if you choose to ladder his strikeouts. So 2 of our 4 best bets on the diamond coming in that one game, Giants-Cubs at Wrigley. And don't forget, folks, our best bets are brought to you by our friends over at G-Bank. And you can get the G-Bank Visa Signature Card today. Most credit cards treat sportsbook and gaming transactions like cash advances, even when you put your own money on the card. G-Bank treats gaming transactions like purchases, so you're saving up to 3 to 5% on cash advance fees on gaming transactions right there. Also with G-Bank, you're earning 1% cashback rewards on all eligible sportsbook and gaming transactions and 2% cashback rewards on all eligible purchases. Apply now. VSiN.com/GBank. That's VSiN.com/GBank. Subject to credit approval. Terms and conditions, of course, do apply. 2 more best bets on the diamond. And we're going back to the Seattle Mariners against the Athletics. Didn't get home on A's money line on Tuesday night. They coughed it up. Tyler Ferguson had a disastrous top of the 9th in for the save opportunity. But we do love the Mariners starter Wednesday afternoon. Brian Wu, give me over 5.5 Ks, minus 115 for Wu. He has been terrific this season, right? This young kid, he's only 25 years old, quietly one of the most consistent pitchers in baseball. He has been a model of consistency for eating innings for Seattle. Try 6 starts this season, 6 innings or more every time out. Now, his outs recorded prop is 18.5. The over is plus $1.55. He's gone over that in half of his starts. 6 1/3 or more, 7 innings twice, 3 out of 6 starts, including his last time out. The reason I'm a little gun shy on that one is because while he's really efficient and economical, the guy has not thrown 100 pitches in a start this year. Sometimes Seattle, maybe it's because he's young, I feel like they baby him a little bit. They don't let him get to 100 pitches. So he could be through 6 on 76 pitches, on 81 pitches, and he might not get a chance to go out there for the 7th inning of work. So that's what scares me with the outs recorded prop. But the guy's been a machine. Last 2 times out, 12 1/3 innings, just 4 combined hits, 16 strikeouts. He's K'd 6 or more in 4 of his last 5, including 8 strikeouts in back-to-back starts. Give me over 5.5. I know this Athletics team does not exactly strike out a ton this year. They've been good at putting the ball in play, but Wu has dominated the Athletics throughout his young career. Current A's hitters, just 15 for 92 against him. It's a 163 average, only 3 extra base hits. It's a 239 slugging percentage and 22 Ks, about a 24-25% K rate. It's his hometown team. He's from Oakland. I know that they're in Sacramento now, but Wu always rises to the occasion against the A's. Give me over 5.5 strikeouts. And we're taking it home with my Mets on the money line. Got game 1 of this series right, stayed away game 2, and Arizona won it 5-1. Rubber match here. Mets looking to take 2 out of 3 in Arizona after dropping 2 out of 3 against the D-backs a week ago at home at Citi Field. And Kodai Senga is back on the bump against the Diamondbacks team where current hitters are just 8 for 54 against Senga with 26 strikeouts. It's nearly a 50% K rate. It's a 148 average, and guess what? All 8 hits have been singles. It's a 148 slugging percentage as well. Senga has dominated the D-backs. Now, his K prop is really enticing to me. It's only coming in at 5.5 in this one. He did have 6 in only 4 innings of work. Didn't have his best stuff. It was an outing where he was really throwing some stressful pitches. Only lasted 4 innings, but got 6 strikeouts. And guess what? If you go 6+, you're getting plus 135 on Senga. So the K prop intrigues the hell out of me, but I'm going to stay away and just go Mets money line. This lineup has had some success against Merrill Kelly in terms of pop. Only about a 250 average against him, but Pete Alonso has 3 home runs. Jeff McNeil has 2 against Merrill Kelly. So while the batting average isn't what I would deem sensational, they've got an 860 OPS and a 540 slugging against Kelly. 9 of the 16 hits have gone for extra bases for current Mets hitters. I think Senga shuts down an Arizona lineup that he's never allowed more than a single against, and the Mets, laying 20 cents on the road, take the rubber match at Chase Field. And that'll do it for the VSiN Daily Morning Bets. That'll also do it for another great edition of Cashing Out with Joe Ceraulo. But folks, the great content here at VSiN never ends. How about VSiN by the books? Jensen Lewis and my buddy Keith Irizarry starting your day off 7 a.m. Eastern over there with that program, followed by a numbers game with our buddies Gil Alexander and Kelly Bidlin at 10 a.m. Eastern, and then the newly revamped Money Moves with Stormy Bonantoni and JVT Jonathan Von Tobel at noon Eastern Time. Special thanks to our sensational producer, Adam Bernard, for the program that he put together, and the rest of our great team here at the VSiN Studios. John, Alexis, Chris, couldn't have done it without them. Special thanks to our terrific guests, Joe DeLeon, Scott Bonder, and Scott Spreitzer, for their time and their picks on the program. Let's see if Wednesday can top Tuesday. A lot of great playoff hoops coming at you. It's going to be a fun one. That'll do it for Cashing Out with Joe Ceraulo. Let's do it again. Damani, right here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
If you work in quality control at a candy factory, you know strict safety regulations come with the job. It's why you partner with Grainger. Grainger helps you find the high quality and compliant products your business needs to inspect, detect, and help correct issues. And the sweetest part is, everyone gets a product that's as safe to eat as it is delicious. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.